Hello everyone, this is Gravity Fox, and today we are going to learn how to use FoxGuard. The updated. The last video I made was really long ago, and unfortunately it is no longer relevant and not really useful to anyone. And I got a lot of people complaining about, help, the video's outdated, I don't know what I'm doing. So here's the new one. Yeah, I am going to skip over a few more things, because I do not want to take half an hour like I did last time. So let's get started. So first we want to find an area to protect. I have such an area marked beautifully in that red square on the floor. We are going to protect this area. Just pretend that this area is spawn and it's inhabited by tiny people the size of ants. There we go. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to define a region saying yes, this is the area we want to protect. And to do that, we need to mark the region with positions, generate the region, and there we go. So the first thing we're going to do is select those points. So I'm going to give myself the wand. Let's see. Created the position wand. Let's select this corner. And select that corner. Now you don't actually have to select the corners. You can select like all the corners or the sides or the middle or some other random combination. As long as they don't go outside, it'll always generate the same region. I only really need the first 2 points though. But yeah. You can select multiple points. So you can draw a circle on the ground and FoxGuard will assemble a region around the circle. So in this case, we want to create a rectangular region. Rectangular regions stretch all the way into the air and all the way down below bedrock. They are a two-dimensional region, which is great for spawn areas because you do not want people to build giant bridges across your spawn. So now that we have all these positions selected, side note, the block highlights are the CUI component, so you won't actually see these unless you have the CUI installed, but the scoreboard will still show up anyway. So now that we have all these points, let us create the region. So it's FoxGuard, create region. Well, actually, it's world region because the rectangular region is only located in this world, so you have to specifically say world region. When creating it, the normal regions are actually bound across worlds, if that makes sense. So there are actually certain regions that will be located in multiple worlds, and so the naming is slightly different. Like every world can have its own regions and therefore own region names, but then for all the server regions or super regions, you need to have basically a name for that region that will be taken up in every world. So in this case, we are making a world region because this rectangular region is only in this world. It's not in the nether, it's not in the end. And yeah, don't forget that and type region and wonder why it doesn't work. We're going to call this carpet just because I marked it with carpet. And we are going to make it a rectangular region. There we go. We'll hit enter. You'll see it took the points, created the region, and we can do FG list regions. And it will say rectangular region in the overworld of type, or sorry, it's the rectangular region in this world of name carpet. There we go. Now the next step is we need to create a handler for this region. So we do FG create handler. I'm going to call it red, and it's going to be a basic handler. Just go ahead and do that. I'm going to do FG list handler, and you see we have the basic red handler. Now we can actually show details, so view details, when you click on it, it shows us the details of the region. Let's also click on our handler to show details of the handler. So alternatively, use FG detail region or handler, and then whichever one you want to detail. But almost everything is clickable and almost everything tab complete, so you don't usually have to worry too much about commands. So we have our handler and we have our region. So the next step is we need to link the two so that they are actually associated with each other. to link, it's FG link, the region, and the handler, carpet red. And there we go. They're linked. Now if we do FG red, detail the red handler, you'll see that the inbound links, there is the carpet region that we just made. So that is all the setup we need to do to make it so we can actually like start configuring flags and permissions and stuff. We have a region, we have a handler linked to that region, and so now anything we change in the handler will apply to this region. So first I'm going to prevent block breaking. So like right now I can break blocks and so on, and I can place blocks and do a variety of things. Maybe actually for demonstration's sake I will also put down a chest, and we'll see why later. So here's a chest, and how about a lever? A lever is also good. Some redstone, and maybe a glowstone lamp, redstone lamp, like so. And we'll just do that. Now, first things first, I want to prevent the breaking of blocks in this region. So we go to our handler. Now, I am currently in the owners group, and the owners group has debuff true, which means it cannot be denied any permissions. So I'm going to actually take myself out of said group so that I can actually demonstrate all the permissions or flags, rules, whatever. When I say permissions, I do not actually mean like command permissions, like when you would see FoxGuard.command.modify.whatever. That is not the permission I'm talking about. I'm talking about just the rules and configurations of FoxGuard that allow and deny actions in a world. So I've removed myself, and now I can reload the details. And in order, for the most part, you will be setting all restrictions into the default group. The default group is the group where everyone's in it. So I'm in the group, you're in the group, everyone's in the group. And there's also the other groups, owner and members. Those groups are just made for you. You do not have to have them. You can make your own groups, and there's actually commands for adding groups or removing groups and whatnot, but it comes with 2 because those are the most frequently used. So if we want to do restrictions, we'll generally do it to default. And the reason is because most of the time you want people not to be able to interact with the region, unless they're a member of like some sort of group. You can also make like an evil villains group that actually has like everything denied, but you have to specifically add people to it. So default group is for working with anybody who's not already added to another group. The other thing to note is that you can be in multiple groups. So right now, if I were in the members group, all the flags from default would still apply to me, but the flags in members would override that. And then if I were in the owners group, the flags from owners would override that as well. So we are going to add the flag set for preventing block breaks. So it's just going to be block break equals false. Like so. And we'll do that. Reload, you see break block false. Okay, that sounds good. Now, if we try to break blocks, you'll see we don't have permission. Can't do anything, which is good. That's what we want. But at the same time, I can still place blocks. I can't break them. So we have that. Now I kind of want to get rid of those grass blocks right now. So I'm actually going to disable the handler. I'm going to click this and disable it. And now it temporarily kind of switches it off, if you will, so I can do whatever I need to do. And then when I'm done, I'm just going to re-enable it, like so. You can't actually like double press this because it's going to, the text doesn't actually update. So right now it says enabled false. You click to enable even though it's already enabled. So if you want to press the button a second time, you do need to click up here, view details for handler, to kind of reload the information. So we can see it's enabled now, and if I try to break things, it no longer lets me. So I'm actually going to make it so I can't change blocks at all. So block change equals false, and see when reload. Now, an interesting thing is that block change completely encompasses break block. So in this case, we don't really even need this anymore. So I can actually just clear this. So set the second flag. So all indexes start counting from 0, I believe. Yeah, so set 0, set 1. All indexes start from 0. And yeah, we can just set that to clear and it would remove it. Okay. So if we reload, you can see that only block changes here. Now if we go here, we can neither break blocks nor can we place them. We also... That is a sponge bug. Yeah, you can just kind of ignore that. That is a sponge bug. But you can see it won't let us modify. But it actually does still let us open chests, because chests don't change when they're opened, even though they visually change. So if we want to make it so we can't interact with blocks anymore, we can add block interact equals false. And then now we won't actually be able to even right click the chest or left click it. So you'll see that now when I right click the lever, it doesn't even do the flicking motion. So that's even more restrictive. But interaction only applies to clicking, so if you disabled interaction, pistons could still work. So you'd still be able to change blocks with pistons because they're separate. Now, we already have working protection, so let's try a different flag. Maybe let's make it so that you can't punch mobs. So in this case, it would be damage mob equals false, denying you the permission to damage mobs. Now, I'm gonna maybe spawn a pig, grab a sword. I don't know, iron sword. Oh, right. So it's not actually letting me right click the block, so I can't even use items. So in order to get the pig to spawn, I gotta spawn it outside and shove it in. And you can also see I do not have permission to damage this pig. Now, since we disabled block interaction, but we didn't disable entity interaction, so I could, if I bring up a carrot, carrot, okay. There you go. Hello, little guy. I can feed you the carrot because I can still interact with you, but I cannot damage you. The damage also applies to projectiles, so if I try shooting it with the bow, the arrow just sort of bounces off. But you can also control interaction, so let's say if I go back, I'm gonna clear this, but then I'm also going to say mob interact equals false. So now at this point, if I go ahead and grab my carrot again, I cannot feed the pig. Well, he's still running towards me, but I can't actually feed the pig. Well, this pig's already fed, so... Hold on, where'd my bow go? I must have deleted it. I'm gonna go ahead and kill him. Bye! I can't aim. There we go. So, I'm gonna place down a pig. Oh, that's interesting. That is another sponge bug. It's another sponge bug. So yeah, there's actually a lot of sponge implementation failures here and there, so you'll see things happen like that. Since I'm curious, I'm also going to spawn a wolf, grab a bone. just sort of looks at me like that. See, it doesn't actually work on the wolf, but it appears to work on the pig. So there's weird things like that do happen. Because I have it set so that oh, nice. What did I even do? Okay. Because I set mob interact set to false, when I'm in here, I can't actually click on them. So like normally if I right clicked with the spawn egg, it would spawn a small pig, but it's not doing that because I don't have permission. But since that shooting an arrow at the pig is not count as interaction, it still lets me do that. So interaction and damage. You can also prevent damage of other players. It would be mostly the same thing, except instead of damage mob, it's damage player, like so. There's multiple entity category selectors in terms of flags, but you'd have to go on the wiki to look at how that works because I'm not going to explain it here. So we have like damage entities, we have interaction. Okay, so there's a couple more. Spawning is another one, so go ahead and reset this. Spawn mob equals false. This actually prevents me from using spawn eggs, so in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to turn off the block interaction, or delete it. Turn off the restriction, so clear. So if we go through, we see... Oh shoot, yeah. That's a little more annoying, right? You always, whenever you do click stuff, it's always good to reload the page, because I just deleted something I didn't want to do. Delete. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, and then spawn mob equals false. So right now, we cannot spawn mobs and we cannot change blocks. So you'll see that when I try to use the egg, you can hear the pig oinks. You can hear all that, but you'll notice that the pigs don't spawn because the spawn entity event is prevented. Now, this does not apply to entities spawned by the world. So if it were nighttime or daytime or whatnot, mobs would still spawn in the square. And the reason is because when the world spawns an entity like a pig, so this one's spawned by me, but that horse over there wasn't. When the world spawns it, it's impossible to determine which player is the cause, because there is no player cause. And the way you can handle this is demonstrated, is doable through the passive configuration. And so there's a few options you have: allow, deny, pass through. So that's just a constant. So like all passive events would be allowed, denied, or they would pass through. So it would basically query the next handler saying, okay, I'm not going to make a decision, you do it. Or you can set it to make it so that all passive actions act like they're from a particular group, or you can make it so that it's just the default group. So I'll show that in a moment. But we'll go through a few more flags. There are the enter and exit. So if I go ahead and enter equals false, like that, it will not let me walk into the region. There we go. And exit is the same thing, or you can use pass, which encompasses both, so both entering and exiting are both passing. And just go ahead and reload that. So I'm going to clear this. I'm going to clear the next one too. I'm just going to clear all those out. So when we view, okay, so there's no more restrictions, so I can do everything. Another one that's actually very interesting is the invincibility flag. And the invincibility flag makes me, well, invincible. So in order to demonstrate this, I'm first going to give the invincibility flag equals true, like so. And I am going to spawn a bunch of skeletons. Sort of all. Oh, right, they catch on fire. Hold on. Yeah, spawn a bunch of skeletons all over the place. Okay. Now they're no longer on fire. I have the invincibility flag for myself. Well, for anyone, really, who is standing in this square. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go to Game Mode Survival. And they will now all start shooting at me. But I am completely fine. And the arrows actually just sort of bounce off of me. So you can see, like, there's a few arrows on the floor that are pointed the opposite direction. That is very loud. Now, some of them are starting to die. The other flag, which is also kind of neat, is the Undying flag. Now, after I do that, I am just going to clear the invincible flag. And so now you'll see that I start taking damage, but watch what happens once I get low. So once I get low, my health never drops under half a heart. There we go. But yeah. For some reason, the arrows are bouncing off of me occasionally, and then sometimes they're hitting me. I'm not entirely sure why that is. I'm sure there's a logical explanation somewhere. But yeah, those are two more interesting flags. Let's see what happens if I like eat a carrot or something. They should still be knocking me around, but for some reason they're not. Anyways. Yep. I'm going to go back into game mode. That's a lot of arrows. Now, those are, for the most part, all the flags. I mean, there's a few more, I believe. Explosion. That one doesn't quite work. So the main ones are going to be your block, entity stuff, and interaction, moving in and out. Those are the main ones that are available as of right now. For mob spawning, I just wanted to give this kind of explain how that's going to work. So mob spawning is a passive event, and because of that, it requires some additional setup. It's really hard to like see mob spawning unless you are unless it applies to the whole world. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm actually going to create a new handler real quick. How about Imperial Rule? I don't, because that stretches every, I don't know. Think of something. And then make a basic handler. And I am going to do FGDTH Imperial Rule. And I am going to link this to the whole world. So every world has a world global region, and then the server has a server global. So if you link any handlers to those regions, then it will apply to the whole world or the whole server. So you do not need to make your own global region. They're already there for you. Then I just apply to that one. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a new group. So I'm gonna click to add a group, and I'm gonna call this passive. And I'm actually gonna I'll be a little more cheeky. How about so I'm gonna give it a color. Maybe I'll give it a color purple. Or is it magenta? It's like light, oh, it's light purple. That's what it was. It was light purple. And then the display name is going to be the server itself. Sure. And now when we make the group and we go, we show it again, you can see that it actually, we've made the display name and it's purple, and it's just kind of fun even though the group is really the passive group. Now we want to set this setting. The passive setting is what actually controls all of these, like world spawn, lightning strikes, and whatnot. So because those are caused by server ticking itself and not by players, it's going to be handled by this setting. By default, it's pass through, which basically sums up to do nothing. We want to change that. I'm going to change that to group. Then we're going to set it to the passive group. That way, you can see anything that happens that isn't caused by a player can be controlled using this group right here. And so then on this group, we're going to add spawn mob equals false. Go ahead and do that. Now in order to see our changes, I'm going to do indiscriminate kill. Kill everything. Like so. Now when I respawn and go back, or really look around anywhere. Ah, there it is. So if you look around, there are absolutely no mobs now. Now normally, if I flew into the air and looked in any particular direction, I'd see plenty of them. But there are none because all of their spawns are disabled. If I go ahead and fgdth rule, and I disable it, so I'm actually going to move up a little farther so we can see more of the world. But as soon as I disable this, all the mobs start spawning, just like that. I can re-enable it, and if I do a discriminate kill again, all the mobs will be gone. You don't see any around. And there you go. That's how you pretty much use the spawn rule. You can apply this to the whole server or to just a particular region. It's really up to you. And yeah, that's it for the basic quick start. There are obviously more features to this plugin, but for the sake of not making a video that's 2 hours long, I'm not going to include them here. However, do subscribe for other videos where I explain more specific things more in depth. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you later.